Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all for the day 6 of the international webinar on recent trends in technological advancements in aquaculture and fisheries. On behalf of the Guru Nanak Center for Research, Guru Nanak College, I welcome the resource person of today's session, Dr. PRAVEEN KUMAR, Senior Manager, Technical, INTRON Life Sciences Private Limited, Andhra Pradesh, who will deliver a talk on probiotic application in recent aquaculture practices. I request Dr. Bhuneshwari, Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of Advanced Zoology and Biotechnology, Guru Nanak College, to introduce the resource person of today. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce the resource person of today's international workshop, Dr. PRAVEEN KUMAR. Sir has pursued his postgraduate degree in aquaculture from Acharya Nagarjuna University and PhD in aquaculture from the same university. Currently, he is working as Director Technical in SDC Agrovet India Private Limited. Sir has done several brand establishment programs both in fish and shrimp farming sector. He presented a paper in International Symposium on Environmental Impacts, Health Implications and Therapeutic Approaches in 2012. He worked as Project Enumerator CIFRI under the project Achieving Greater Food Security and Eliminating Poverty through Dissemination of the Improved Carp Strains to the Fish Farmers of India in 2006, and also as a Senior Research Fellow in SIBA, Chennai under NFDP project entitled Demonstration of Asian Sea Bass Lake Calcarifer Farming in the Pond Culture System for 2 years. He published paper on survival and growth performance of Pacific white shrimp, Lithopenes vannamei under different stocking density, IOSR Journals of Agriculture and Veterinary Science. With a brief introduction, a hearty welcome to you, sir, for today's introduction workshop.
Thank you. I request our resource person, Dr. PRAVEEN KUMAR, to kindly present his presentation. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for giving me opportunity in delivering this international seminar.
Sir, you can make it full screen, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for giving the opportunity. Today I want to deliver specifically on present probiotic applications pertaining to present aquaculture practices. As we know, now India is in a level of producing more than 7 lakh metric tons of shrimp, and we are exporting more than 6 lakh 20 metric tons to international countries such as United States of America and some European countries, Japan and China. That much of production, it is coming around from around 1,70,000 hectares of shrimp farms throughout our Indian coastline. In that, Andhra Pradesh contributing major share of more than 4 lakh metric tons, followed by Gujarat and some from Tamil Nadu and some from Odisha and some from other states also. Out of all this total production, whether it is really qualitative or value-added shrimp, that sometimes it is under some doubt. Why? Because now most of the countries are thoroughly checking our Indian shrimp, whether they are having some antibiotics or some any residues like that. So it's a big question now for farmers, farming industry, particularly for shrimp farming industry. As we totally depend on the exports, our shrimp totally is an export-oriented product. So in that, we have to go through an value-added quality product, especially. Otherwise, we will lose the value totally. Now, most of the farmers are facing, since 3-4 years, pricing and everything was a big headache for farmers. Why? Because it is totally because of some antibiotics or some chemicals or some residues which are getting in that product. So now we have to more cautious to produce high quality shrimp to get more value for our product. So that shrimp farming, which is becoming every year one way it is becoming difficult every year. Why? Because problems and challenges such as diseases, shrimp prices, and most of the regulations from other countries, they made it very difficult for successful shrimp farming. And moreover, in addition to that, global competition also getting tougher every year, year by year. Most of the countries are coming from shrimp production. It is a big competition for us. So we have to overcome that competition through value added only. And another way, environment is every year, day by day, deteriorating. Our water and soils also getting more and more pollution. Why? Because continuous crops are doing all these problems for us. So now farmers are in a big difficult time to produce the value-added shrimp. So for that, we depend on most of the farming technologies. New production methods are being developed, such as indoor farms, nurseries, zero water access methods, biofloc methods, like that. Day by day, new more methods are coming to overcome all these challenges. Our target is to produce high-quality value-added shrimp without chemicals, without harmful chemicals, without antibiotics. And we have to be produced through certain organic certification, and that to be in an eco-friendly way. And in that way, we have to use only biodegradable products, which will not allow as a residues in the product. So these are the common targets for us: organic certification, eco-friendly product, and biodegradable products. For that, in the manufacturing process, we have to depend or we have to search for all these kind of products only for producing our shrimp, good quality shrimp. So for that, some of the companies are producing quality added products, and they are giving good technical service also to get sustainable shrimp production. In that, probiotics are the key product to get high value added shrimp product. There is no other alternative for probiotic. Nowadays, most if we see earlier, that means in the 15 to 20 years back, if we see, shrimp culture is a traditional practice. In that, not much use of any chemicals, not much use of probiotics. Why? Because very low density culture is going on, 5 to 10 pieces per square meter. But now culture has been increased. Culture has been developed it has been developed such a way that our regular normal normal stocking densities has become 60 to 70 pieces per square meter. So in such a way, if we do culture in that way, we have to use probiotics exceptionally. And that too, probiotics in a large quantity, that too in good quality. So our probiotics, particularly which are highly concentrated, will not require the fermentation. Why? Because now farmers are also using, in the farm level, they are producing own probiotics. They may be contaminated because they don't have any certain hygienic levels also. So we produce a good probiotics which are highly concentrated and which do not need any local fermentation. That means immediately they are usable in the farm level. They can be directly applied to water, which not allow any risk of cross-contamination. And they should control harmful bacteria which will develop in the pond level. Our target of the probiotic is like that. And next, they have to reduce the fluctuations in the pH of water, which is more critical in the farm level. And one more thing, they have to create an optimum environment for the shrimp throughout the culture period. This is the major role of our probiotic, and we are doing in such a way. And in nowadays, the major challenges also I have to bring to your notice that EHP is one of the dangerous diseases. Since 2.5 years we are facing in the shrimp industry. Slow growth syndrome. We call it this is caused by enterocytosis hepatocana, is a microsporidian parasite. It causes slow growth. Sometimes we can call it as no growth also. And second, white fecal disease. White fecal disease, most of the farmers now facing throughout the India, which leads to loose shell syndrome. Most of the farmers, they do culture successfully, but at the end, they won't get anything because loose shell may develop because of this white fecal disease. Third, white spot disease, very well, we know that it's a viral disease. Since 20 years, it was continuing in our waters. Shrimp, tiger shrimp we face, now wanami also we are facing this problem. Now, another disease is vibriosis, which is so dangerous now. Bacterial disease. It is a bacterial disease, everybody knows it. And one more challenge is white muzzle disease. White muzzle disease means white muzzles may appear in the running culture. Maybe because of many reasons. One of the reason is oxygen deficiency. And sometimes minerals also in the water, mineral problem, mineral deficiency. That means mineral imbalance may come and it may lead to cramps and white muzzle problems. And one more problem is gill disease. Falling, maybe because of falling. We call it as falling disease. Maybe sometimes it is a black gill or maybe sometimes it is a brown gill. So gill problems may come. And finally, RMS disease, that we call as running mortality syndrome. Every farmer, every season, every crop, they face this problem. If there are not much, they are not properly managed. This is called toxic gas disease. So these are common challenges, what we are facing as a farmer particularly. So to avoid all these challenges, we have to go through proper management. Initially from soil to soil management, and it is next step to water management. See, if we go through soil, now most of the farmers are not properly doing their drying and plowing, what I am telling, drying, plowing, fertilization, and all these things. So we have to treat the soil crop to crop with probiotic only. Soil probiotic we have to use after drying, plowing, and fertilization. Treatment is must, we need. To avoid the challenges, what will happen in the later stage, to control all this, we have to go through, initially we have to go through soil treatment. After drying, plowing, fertilizing, and liming, finally we have to treat with a probiotic which is suitable for that soil. So these probiotic may help in degrading the accumulated organic matter. This is our target in the pond, and that keeps the pond bottom. Most of the farms, what we are observing now throughout the India, farmers are enthusiastic or they are aggressive in stocking. They are not properly doing the soil fertilization. They are only thinking about the seed and water quality in the later stage. Now we recommend every farmer should go through the soil treatment for successful culture, for quality added shrimp. This is initial step they have to take care. So that means probiotic treatment should be for soil initially to maintain the proper good soil. And what happens? It effectively controls the building of ammonia, and also it helps certain oxidation of metals which are present in the soil. They later on they also show their impact on the animal molding and everything. Why? Because on the soil, naturally we know that shrimp will take molding and feeding at the bottom. So bottom, that means soil should be clean. For that, we have to take care of all these probiotic treatments. Without this, we can't go proper management of the soil. So that's why we recommend, as a technical, we recommend soil treatment is initially must to clear all these initial problems, particularly which will develop, which will allow the ammonia formation at the bottom. So probiotic will control it, and next it will control the metals like such as ammonia, such as iron and all, which are insoluble as the ferric salts at the bottom. And also it controls the building up of toxic gases such as H2S, hydrogen sulfide gas, which will naturally form at the bottom of the pond. And one more advantage of this probiotic treatment is it will control the vibriostatic substances, that means it will not allow the products which supports the vibrio growth. So all these advantages through probiotic for soil treatment. If you see this, see before and after control of after application of probiotic, we see these photos. So how advantages of the probiotic treatment for the soil. Now in the latter stage, we have some other challenges in the culture, regular challenges like bore water. Bore water is nowadays most of the culture is not extended to a low saline culture, and that too the culture which was running by bore water. No natural water, no creek waters, because most of the water bodies are contaminated, and farmers are not been having confidence to do with that creek waters. So now to avoid all these challenges, to control all the challenges, most of the farmers are going through bore water culture. 90% of the Indian shrimp Panami culture now is under bore water. That in that there is challenge again, mineral deficiency. That mineral deficiency may cause lucial problem, as we discussed earlier, white muzzle disease, cramp problems. Such it is one of the challenge in the bore water culture. Second, organic matter. In the running culture, we know that organic matter accumulation will take place at the bottom of the pond. That leads to low pH and toxic gases production. Third, plankton crash may happen. There is always possibility because it is bore water. There are some imbalances in the mineral quantity and everything. So plankton DO problems may come suddenly. So plankton crash may happen. This is another challenge. And one more challenge is toxicity. Anytime toxicity may arise, and it leads to turbidity also supports for that. So this is another challenge in the bore water culture. And next, contamination. Vibriosis or white spot disease. We know that anything may come at any time. And finally, all these issues, respect all these things, shrimp may face molting problems, molting, irregular molting, and it may lead to running mortality syndrome. And finally, EHP, as we discussed earlier, EHP and white fecal diseases are also challenges. These are all the challenges in the running culture system. So to avoid all these problems, we have to go through the proper application of the probiotics. Challenge, and as we discussed, accumulation of organic matter is the biggest challenge for all the problems, which is a mother for all the problems. Accumulation of organic matter. This organic matter is maybe due to, we know that, feed wastage and due to metabolic wastage and also due to dead organisms which will be settled at the water. All these may favor the growth of the pathogens such as Vibrio or maybe anything. So the accumulation of organic matter is the biggest cause for all the issues. And it leads to high consumption of oxygen. And also it allows the production of toxic gases such as ammonia, nitrates, and hydrogen sulfide gas. So these are all the common problems what farmers regularly faces because of the accumulation of organic matter. And also it helps for the development of phytoplankton bloom, which also causes the depletion of DO. It may happen normally in the night times, which will cause bloom crash. All these adverse conditions contaminate pond environment. Feed wastage, metabolic waste, dead organisms, toxic gases, bloom crash, everything leads to contaminate the pond environment, water and soil, and will make stress for the shrimp. And it makes susceptible to disease, and it makes shrimp too susceptible for disease. And it leads poor growth, and sometimes failed crop may also happen because of this kind of disease outbreaks. All these problems are due to organic matter, accumulation of organic matter. So probiotics here, they completely oxidizes the organic matter. They decompose organic matter, they metabolize these gases such as iron sulfide, methane, and ammonia, and they convert all these metabolites into nutrients. And second, specifically some nitrifying and denitrifying probiotics will convert ammonia into nitrate and nitrate to nitrate, and finally to nitrogen gas. This is a nitrification process. It reduces the level of toxic compounds. And another advantage, strong ability. Probiotics are the strongest ability to inhibit pathogenic bacteria such as Vibrio, as they produce microbial metabolites, which controls the Vibrio development. And finally, they activate the pond with all kinds of DO levels. Probiotics helps in the pond condition to improve the water quality management system. And along with the organic matter, pond pollution is another cause for the problems, challenges. Organic matter consists of high amounts of effluents, as we know, waste feed, fecus, medications, pesticides, like all these things they may present in the organic matter. This organic matter in the pond, it increases the thickness of the water, sliminess, smell, foul smell, toxic algae pollution, everything in that pond. It allows. The uneven and partial preparation of the pond may also leads to loose soil, or sometimes it may contribute for turbidity also. It is also another biggest challenge in the pond water culture. Obnoxious gases production may start from the pond and gives a strong unpleasant odor. So these are the another reasons from the organic matter accumulation. And one more, increase of organic matter, it may leads to total increase of total dissolved solids and total suspended solids, which leads to the reduction of phytoplankton under DO. That's why plankton crash may happen suddenly at any stage of the culture. Pond pollution affects the shrimp growth, we know that, and increases the mortality also. That's why we go for the probiotics, which are specially designed through bioflag technology, sometimes another technology, nanotechnology. Farmer may go through any kind of technology to reduce the organic matter in the pond and which will improve the pond environment. So obviously, probiotic role has been decided by all these kind of matters. And one more gas, ammonia, which is highly toxic and which is highly influenced on the animal condition. Its concentration normally more than 0.1 mg per liter will be unsafe. Below than 0.1 mg is considered to be somewhat safe. And high pH and temperature may also increase the concentration of this kind of ammonia, which is a toxic form particularly for our shrimp and fish also. And it can readily diffuse through cell membranes. Ammonia, we know that it will easily absorbable into the blood soil cell membranes, as it is highly lipid soluble gas and compared to oxygen. Shrimps excrete most of the nitrogen waste through gills in the form of ammonium ion, as we know, and that ammonia can exhibit reduced growth rates, poor feed conversion, and reduced disease resistance. That affects all over the crop. So ammonia is a deadly dangerous gas which shows a lot of damage for the shrimp and fish also. So probiotics particularly, they have to control this kind of ammonia through nitrification and denitrification. As we know, both are coupled and biological process. This nitrification is conversion of ammonium to nitrate, which is called nitrification. This nitrification is a two-step process particularly. One step, nitrosomonas bacteria converts ammonia to ammonium to nitrite, followed by nitrite to nitrate, that by nitrobacter. Here in the nitrification process, nitrosomonas and nitrobacter, both bacteria is a coupled process. They convert ammonium to nitrate, which is less toxic. Ammonia is toxic, nitrate is less toxic, and sometimes it will be helpful to the growth of the algae also. And second step, after nitrification, there is denitrification. In the denitrification, there are some other bacteria. They take care of nitrate to nitrogen gas, which are particularly facultative heterotrophic bacteria. They take care of it. Heterotrophic bacteria, they need a carbon source as a food to live. And facultative bacteria can get the oxygen by taking some DO from the water also. Like that, they control the concentration of nitrate levels by nitrification and denitrification process with the help of these kind of different kinds of probiotics. Some people or some farmers that think on yucca in place of probiotics, but yucca has its own limited binding capacity, but as probiotics it doesn't have the limitation. So this is the nitrogen cycle. How a probiotic can play its role. Organic matter which is released as an ammonia, that ammonia will be converted into nitrite to nitrate to nitrogen. This is a coupled process of nitrification and denitrification with the help of certain nitrosomonas and nitrobacter and some heterotrophic bacteria. So this probiotic take care of control of ammonia, particularly in the water. Without these probiotics, ammonia cannot be regulated in the water and it will be easily absorbable into the cell membranes of the body, and it leads to high toxicity in the water, in the shrimp, and a lot of the damage will happen suddenly. So sometimes crop loss may also happen. We have seen a lot of such cases. So now that's why we are targeting ammonia with the kind of probiotics. And one more gas is H2S gas. As we discussed, H2S gas will form at the bottom of the water. H2S, hydrogen sulfide gas, deadly dangerous gas. deadly dangerous gas. It is generated when sulfate consuming bacteria digest the accumulation of organic matter. That means if there is sulfate consuming bacteria, sulfur reducing bacteria we call it, if it is present, it will absorb the accumulated organic matter and it releases H2S gas. Under anaerobic conditions, particularly at the bottom, under anaerobic conditions, the mud and sludge and bioflux, they produce H2S gas under anaerobic conditions. That means the low level of oxygen levels. Initially, H2S blocks the shrimp from taking up oxygen, and also it weakens the shrimp even at low levels. H2S gas makes animal into sluggish condition, and it is more susceptible. It increases the susceptibility to disease also. And when H2S levels are very high, mass mortalities may occur. This is a common problem happened in the most of the farms. That's because of this H2S gas. Most of the farmers will do harvest also in the sudden stage. So that's why we have to target this H2S gas also with the kind of probiotics. So we have to take care of certain probiotics which will function at the anaerobic conditions, with the anaerobic conditions. So we have to target H2S gas. Without H2S gas culture, without H2S gas only, we have to get very good crop in the latter stage. Ammonia one way, H2S gas another way. These two are the deadly dangerous toxic gases which kill the shrimp aquaculture. Another reason is another physical parameter which will disturb the aquaculture is salinity. As we discussed, the bore water culture, now most of the shrimp is going under production. So in that, salinity is the criteria. Salinity is the basic criteria. The osmotic balance, as we know, between external and internal environment, the salinity changes may happen. Influx of water, particularly due to osmotic pressure, they bring the minerals into the water and they take the minerals from inside the body to outside the environment. So this is the osmotic, based on the osmotic pressure, osmosis will take place, as we know. This salinity also another key factor. It works on the sodium, potassium, ATPase activity. Based on that, it will work like that. And another factor is temperature. Temperature has a profound effect on the metabolic rate of poikilothermic organisms. And shrimp also face the temperature. Very critical factor. Thermal reduction in feed consumption results of around 10% for each degree Celsius of the body temperature. As we know, temperature increases, metabolic rate will increase. And as temperature decreases, metabolic rate also decreases. Internally, this temperature is also a challenge sometimes when there is low DO, when there is low pH, and when that time temperature plays a key role on the environment, and it makes sometimes unfavorable for animal also. So we have to take care of this temperature also. So that's why now most of the changes is happening in the culture system, closed environment, closed culture system, not open system. Most of the farmers are now coming for the inside culture systems, closed shrimp aquaculture systems. For that, so that's why we say management of probiotics are key for successful shrimp farming, because probiotics, particularly as we know, they take care of production of, they produce enzymes, they act as a catalyst. We know that they accelerate the biochemical reactions in the pond. They helps in the faster degradation of organic matter. They provide precursors for probiotic fermentation process. And we know that some probiotics, they work on aerobic fermentation and some do anaerobic fermentation. Aerobic fermentation, as we know that extracellular enzymes such as cellulase, proteases, and amylases, they degrade these nitrogenous compounds such as ammonia, nitrate, and nitrate in the nitrogen cycle, particularly nitrification and denitrification levels. This aerobic fermentation take care and they produce nutrients. They convert the excess nitrogen into nutrients. And in anaerobic fermentation, that results in the production of carbon dioxide and low pH. This is little bit of tox problem in the pond bottom condition. So our role, particularly these probiotics, they produce enzymes and act as a catalyst. They accelerate the biochemical actions in the pond. Particularly, our probiotics also they do aerobic fermentation activity, and they convert whatever the excessive nitrates in the organic matter. They convert all the organic materials into nutrients, which will helpful for the plankton and which will helpful for the animal also sometimes. So, and they reduce the toxicity. So, role of our probiotics particularly uh, under aerobic fermentation, as we discussed, they reduce the sludge particularly under anaerobic conditions in the bottom. The most of the challenges, as we discussed earlier, whatever the white fecal disease, whatever the white spot disease, whatever the white muzzle disease, all these are because of anaerobic conditions in the pond bottom. So our probiotics, particularly which works on the aerobic fermentation, they reduce the sludge which is accumulated at the bottom through organic matter. In that organic matter, the sludge and sludge will be digested by our probiotic. This probiotic, particularly, they won't allow to absorb much amount of oxygen in the bottom. Most of the probiotics, which are not effective, they works on the level of oxygen availability. But as we have specialized technology and we produce the probiotic, which will work in the bottom where there is no where there is limited amount of oxygen. In that condition, it works and it digests the total amount of organic matter, and they convert the organic matter into useful nutrients. Useful nutrients. Those nutrients will be again utilized by the plankton, and they may be utilized by the animal also, as kind of biofloc technology. We call it as biofloc sometimes. So we have to target all these challenges as we discussed earlier. What white muzzle and this white fecal, particularly nowadays, which is so severe. All these problems may be reduced if we properly manage the bottom organic sludge. So our target, particularly every day in the pond management, we target the sludge. We won't allow the amount of organic matter accumulated at the bottom. Every day or 3 days once, or maybe depending on the usage of the feed, weekly once, we apply our probiotics. We apply the probiotics. Otherwise, we cannot survive. We can't save. We can't put shrimp in the healthy condition. Depending on the DOC also. One way, another way, we call it as days of culture. Depending on the DOC, depending on the stocking density, we go the application of probiotics regularly. Sometimes, initially, the first month, it is different. Second month of it is different. Third month it is different. Why? Because normally our shrimp culture period is around 90 days. Particularly, we go for 90 to 120 days target. In that initial first phase, first 1 month, we go for the limited amount of feed, because mostly at that time plankton also depends on the natural feed. And second month, we increase the feeding frequency and feed percentage. In third month, it was maximum. So application of probiotic also we disperse in such a way. Initially, we go for
Yes, sir. You can proceed, sir.
Right, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
You can open your PPT. From that side, you can proceed, sir.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Thank you so much.
Right, sir. So, as we discussed, this sludge and organic matter at the bottom, which is accumulated day by day, daily basis, we have to control it. This is a key target in the shrimp aquaculture. For that, we apply the probiotics regularly. Maybe 100 grams per acre sometimes, that will go to 200 grams per acre. Maybe it will increase up to 500 grams per acre. Such a kind of distribution we go for to control of this accumulation of organic matter. Otherwise, we won't control white muzzle problems, or we won't control white fecal disease problems, or vibriosis. Nowadays, seasonally, vibriosis will show its influence on the animal particularly. That's why we have to go for regular application of probiotic, which will work at the anaerobic conditions, particularly at the bottom. So that's why we request all the farmers who are going for the culture, they have to take care of the pond bottom management regularly. I observe most of the farmers I know, first 1 month they won't take any care. Second month, after 45 to 60 days only, they are taking care of the application of these probiotics. That's why they are facing the most of the problems in the culture. That's why they are facing repeated white muzzle problems, or repeated vibriosис problems, or repeated white spot problem. As we discussed, probiotics will not allow the vibriostatic condition. That's why if there is vibriosis, there is a chance of white spot problem. That means Vibrio and white spot virus, they combinedly develop in the water, as we know. Virus is a particle which will take the help of the bacteria in the pond bottom. If we won't allow the bacteria, automatically virus will also be under control. So that's why we request all our farmers or stakeholders who are doing the culture, they have to take care of the management of these probiotics since before stocking, pre-stocking onwards. As I told, for the soil treatment itself, they have to take care of the probiotics initially. After that, every week, they have to apply the probiotic. If they are doing the feeding, they have to take care of the probiotic application from day 1 onwards. So I request all the farmers, they have to go through all these kind of probiotics, taking care of it. These probiotics, they promote better water quality. Indirectly, they promote the better water quality and better soil quality, as we discussed. Why? How? Because they absorb excess nitrogen in the water. They absorb the excess toxic gases which are developed in the water. These toxic gases, they leads to anaerobic conditions, as we know. These toxic gases, they are present in the water. They will be absorbed into the animal also. As we know, the cell membrane of the shrimp is highly susceptible to ammonia gas, particularly when compared to oxygen. So that's why we request farmers should apply regular application of the probiotics to control all these kind of toxic gases. If they remove the toxic gas, water quality will be good, and the animal will be also very healthy and is not under stress. So to avoid the stress and susceptibility of the disease, probiotic will play a key role in the shrimp, particularly in the shrimp aquaculture. For the success of shrimp aquaculture, the probiotic is the key. Nowadays, there is no other alternative, no chemical is been replaced under probiotic. This probiotic particularly strongly inhibit the pathogenic bacteria such as Vibrio. As I told, these probiotics produce microbial metabolites. These microbial metabolites, they prevent the growth of, or they prevent the development of Vibrio. These metabolites inhibit strongly this kind of pathogenic bacteria. If no Vibrio, no problem, no white spot, no white muzzle, and no white fecal problem also. And as we discussed earlier, EHP is another microsporidian parasite, as I told, Introcytosan epitopinine, which is developing through Vibrio also. These two, they cause slow growth syndrome. no growth. What happened now? In EHP problem, there won't be any mortality. But they take high amount of feed every day, but they won't give any growth. That's why we call it as slow growth syndrome or no growth syndrome. In that, to avoid all this problem also, probiotic will play a key role. Probiotic will control this kind of problems also. That's why we request our farmers, they go for regular probiotic applications. As an Intron Life Sciences, we offer all these kind of microbes or probiotics which will help for the control of all these problems. And we allow the good quality environment in the water and soil. And finally, some biofilm control. We provide a probiotic which controls the biofilm. I will discuss a little bit on this. Biofilm, as we know, which will form at the bottom of the pond. This biofilm is the shelter for all the pathogens. Shelter for probiotics, shelter for bacteria, shelter for virus, shelter for protozoans, shelter for fungi, shelter for algae, for everything. That biofilm will be a feeding zone for all these kind of pathogens. Any probiotic should control this biofilm at the bottom. We produce the effective probiotics which will control this formation of biofilm at the bottom. It looks like a slimy layer. It is an excellent shelter zone for all the pathogens. We request probiotic application will help to control these biofilms. Successful successful shrimp production will be one of the reason because of this biofilm control. If we apply good quality probiotic, they control the biofilms. So if no biofilm, not much problem in the shrimp aquaculture. After harvesting also, we will see this kind of biofilms at the bottom. Once after remove water, we see the good quality soil at the bottom. If there is biofilm, means you are not applied the proper probiotic and you are not done the proper pond management. So nowadays, all these issues, what we discussed, the challenges of regular mortality, challenges of poor molting, challenges of poor feeding, challenges of poor growth, all these are because of the formation of biofilms only. This biofilm bottom will indirectly show its effect on the animal. Why? How? Animal normally it goes to the bottom for feeding and molting frequently. If it touches the biofilm, that biofilm, which is a shelter for all the pathogens, this allows the pathogens to enter into the animal. So slowly mortality may start. Slowly molting may affect. Slowly growth may affect. Slowly feeding may hamper. So all this may be indirectly related to the biofilm control. So that's why I request our farmers, they have to take care of all these probiotics which will control soil, which will do soil management and which will do water quality management properly. So that's why as an Intron Life Sciences, we produce very good probiotics which will control the biofilm at the pond bottom. That means one way they control the sludge, one way it gives better water quality and better soil quality, and one way it inhibit the growth of the pathogenic bacteria such as Vibrio, and it will also control and not allow the spreading of the white spot virus, and it also helps for the control of the biofilm at the bottom. And finally, we allow our shrimp and fish at the very good, stable, healthiest, and uncompromised living conditions. Our probiotics, our role as a probiotic, we produce the good quality probiotics which will allow the animal, particularly shrimp or fish, under stable and healthiest and uncompromised living conditions, so that our target of production of highly valued shrimp may be possible with the help of these kind of probiotics, water probiotics and soil probiotics. As a probiotic company, we produce this kind of probiotics, Soilex, Total, and Maverick PS, and Amoxil, and talks of. These are different kinds of probiotics. So I request all of the farmers to follow the probiotic variations. Don't depend on the single probiotic. Maybe sometimes the farmers can use only aerobic, or sometimes they can use anaerobic. So I request sequentially, maybe depending on the DOC, maybe depending on the stocking density, we have to go for the different kinds of probiotic strains, which will support the water and the soil water quality. So particularly, initially we have to go for soil probiotics, which will control the certain metallic problems in the bore water, such as hardness and algal issues may be controlled with the help of the probiotics. Later on, we target the water quality, such as we know that bacillus strains will use normally. After that, we go for some heterotrophic probiotic, and we go for nitrosomonas and nitrobacter probiotics. And at the end of the culture, particularly, we target HDS gas, which is a sulfur-reducing bacteria. For that also, we go for certain strongly anaerobic bacteria, which will help for the control of this kind of toxic gases. So as with all these kind of probiotics, we successfully do the management of this shrimp aquaculture particularly, and so that we can produce highly valued shrimp, which will not allow the antibiotics or any residues, any chemicals. So I request all the farmers and stakeholders to go through this kind of probiotics, which will help for the production of the value-added shrimp. Thank you. Thanks for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir, for the nice presentation and detailed advice to the farmers. Sir, there are few questions in the chat box. Shall I read out those questions, sir?
Sure, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, Mr. Ami and Ami has asked, what probiotics are used nowadays and how much should we use?
Sir, probiotics particularly, we go for different kinds of strains. Bacillus, and some are some nitrosomonas, and some, as I said, nitrosomonas and nitrobacter probiotics, and some bacillus, some heterotrophic probiotics they are using. Depending on the depending on the nature of the problem, we are using the probiotics. Some are aerobic and some are anaerobic. Particularly for such certain problems like HDS, no. We have to go through anaerobic probiotic only, which will target the sulfur-reducing bacteria.
Okay, sir.
And quantity is based on the density, sir. As we go for the density, shrimp density per square meter. Depending on that only, we have to increase the quantity of probiotic. Normally, if we go for low level of stocking density, we use low level of feed. So for that, we not need much quantity of probiotic. Whenever there is high density, such as more than 40 pieces or 50 pieces or 60 pieces per square meter, there we require regular application of probiotics.
Okay, sir.
Maybe depending on the concentration of the, as we know, technically colony forming units. Based on that only, we go for the quantity of the probiotics. Sir.
Okay, sir.
Right.
Mr. Praveen Prasad has asked, probiotic used for water management and convert waste into protein. Flock, different fish having different eating behavior for different fish, or that is his question, sir.
What's it? Once again, sorry.
Sir, his question is, a probiotic used for water management and convert waste into protein, that is flock. Different fish have different eating behavior, or like different, we have to use different probiotics for different fish, or a singular same probiotic for different fish is asking.
No, any probiotic that basically its function is they convert the excess nitrogen into nutrient.
Okay.
So any fish or any kind of animal that takes nutrient. It's a kind of protein percentage depending on the proteins. Some fish require high quantity protein. Some fish require low quantity protein. Depending on that only, we use the probiotics. Any probiotic will convert the nitrogen into nutrient only.
Okay.
Irrespective of the concentration of the proteins.
Okay, sir.
There is no discrimination in that, sir.
Okay, sir. One Navneet Soni has asked, where can they purchase your probiotics?
Yeah, globally they are available, sir. In India and abroad also they are available.
Okay.
If they need, we can give that website and all address. No problem, sir.
Okay.
Internationally, we are using, sir, in 5 countries: Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia, Malaysia, and India. In such 5 countries, we are doing this kind of probiotic supply, sir.
Okay, sir. Dear participants, if you have, and Debayan Chatterjee, sir, for Transpower Biofloc Pro. Okay, yes, this one. Shobha Raghav has asked, what is the actual composition of probiotics and what kinds of probiotics are utilized for aquaculture fields? Again, you have answered that.
Normally Bacillus and Thiobacillus, sir.
Okay.
Basic probiotic is Bacillus only, sir. There are different strains. In Bacillus, there are different strains. Bacillus ferocans, Bacillus Thiobacillus, Pseudomonas, and there are different species also there in that Bacillus, sir.
Okay, sir. Dr. Ashwani Kumar sir asked, procedures and quantity of probiotic species to be used for soil water feed as feed.
Procedure, sir.
Yes, sir. What
is we apply direct application, sir. We apply in the soil also. As in agriculture, we go for the probiotic application now.
Yes, sir.
Same way for soil, we can directly apply on the soil. Sometimes we're taking care of that little amount of moisture we need. Sometimes in the running culture now, sir, the pond water they directly apply the probiotic into the water. No need of any mixing, no need of any fermentation also. Okay. Direct application, sir. And so that means quantity that I don't know earlier, depending on the stocking density.
Okay.
Farmers go for different levels of densities, no? So based on that, we give our protocol.
So Shobha Raghav asked, how can we make this probiotic in the least economic manner, which will be helpful to farmers?
That I cannot say. This is because as I'm a technical producer, I'm not a producer. As I'm a technical supporter only, no, sir.
Yes, sir.
In the fund level, but we can prepare also. We can use some jaggery, we can use some rice bran cake and some groundnut cake. We can mix it through under fermentation. We do it. We can easily produce the probiotic also. There is some process, easiest process, but we need a hygienic condition. What I told earlier, no, sir. Most of the farmers, they are doing in some areas, but it is not so success because it is not hygienic, no.
Yeah, hygienic and
there will be chance of cross contamination. That's why we won't allow the farmers to do in the farm level.
Okay, sir. Pravina Somana says, what is the actual bacterial strain which can control biofilm, particularly?
Biofilm, sir, there is any bacteria, any effective bacteria will control the biofilm, sir. Particularly, I told no, Bacillus ferocans. At the bottom, some Aeromonas bacteria also there, and that also effective in the anaerobic condition. Particularly in the bottom biofilm, that means which is having low pH and low level of DO condition prevails. In that condition, I go for sometimes Paracoccus pantotrophus also successfully. Paracoccus pantotrophus is a very good strain. And some Bacillus, in that Bacillus also modified, sir. We have some genetically modified strains that also work on the biofilm, sir. Normal Bacillus will not function on that. As I told, it is specifically in a low pH and low DO condition. So we go for this kind of Paratrophus, Pantotrophus, or some kind of specially modified, designed Bacillus probiotics, sir.
Okay, sir. Mr. Rajshekaran has asked, can we use the kind of probiotic for both freshwater fish and marine fish?
Sir, sometimes for the probiotic activity, salinity and temperature are the critical factors. If it is low salinity means, okay, some of our strains also, they work from 0 to 45 ppt salinity variation, sir. So in such a case, you can go for both freshwater fish and marine fish, no problem, sir. And most of the probiotics now, they go through gut also, animal gut. That means through feed probiotics also now using. We know lactobacillus and some yeast bacteria that called fungus strain. We use through feed also, sir, to control gut pathogens. Along with this bacillus, now most of the farmers also, they are following gut probiotics also to control the pathogens inside the gut. This is also now regular practice.
Punctuation has asked, what is the reason for algal blooming in system where probiotics are applied?
Untime. That means if we won't apply timely probiotics, that excess nutrient will be formed in settled at the bottom, and that will be converted into a nutrient, and that will be absorbed by the algae, which will be developed at the bottom. That algae, toxic algae, they absorb the excess nutrients sometimes, and they go for the they develop in the water, and they leads in high concentration of algae, and sometimes suddenly adverse conditions or adverse environment conditions prevails. This algae will take lead. This algae, which is developed because of excess nutrients, that will take more amount of oxygen, and that's why if DO level will deplete in the water, suddenly bloom crash will happen, sir. Suddenly the total amount of algae will also die at the bottom. That indirectly leads to the formation of another toxic gas. So that's why we ask farmers not to allow for the algal growth inside the water. If there is much algal growth, there may be a chance of bloom crash. So at that time, we ask our farmers to go for more amount of probiotic application, or they have to reduce the feed concentration, feed application. Two possibilities. One way they have to reduce the feed application, and another way they have to increase the application of probiotic, so that excess nutrients may not be available for the algal growth, so that algal crash may not happen in the water. This is a chain process.
Okay, sir. Mr. Samarendra Pandas asked, how frequently can we use probiotics in freshwater aquaculture?
Weekly once must, sir.
Okay.
If we go for the artificial feed, we have to go for weekly once. If not, 10 days or 15 days, depending on the water quality.
Mr. Shivkumar has asked, sir, please explain how probiotic work in above pH, like 8.33.
Yeah, that means that is the effectiveness of the probiotics, sir. Some probiotics may not work beyond 8.5 or 8.6. We have our own strains developed under certain extreme conditions. They work under the pH of 8.3, sir. Not much of a big problem. 8.5 also no problem, sir. Normally, the water level in our other conditions, naturally we see pH 7.5 to 8.5 on an average, sir. In the extreme conditions only, pH increases from 8.5 to 9. That time we go for the more quantity probiotic. Instead of depending on the normal doses, we go for more quantity probiotics. That is the logic.
Okay, sir. And Rakesh Kumar Janamani has asked, what is the DO level for a better bacterial and fish growth?
Better bacteria, sir? Good bacteria or harmful bacteria?
No, he's meaning the probiotics, sir. Good bacteria only.
Probiotic, sir. Oh, it's a probiotic development, no? That is always 4.5 to 5.6 per mg, sir.
Okay, sir. I think I have not missed any questions. All the questions I have. One more question. Samarendra, can we use probiotics for preventive measures to prevent diseases? If so,
exactly, sir. Sir?
If so, which strain is responsible for the preventive cares?
Bacillus, sir. Common Bacillus and Lactobacillus.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right.
I think we have come to the end. There are a few more. Yeah. What is the dosage of probiotics per acre or per meter of fresh water?
Per acre or per meter means normally we go for 300 to 500 grams per acre, sir. 300 to 500 grams per acre. This is a common dosage, sir. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Can we control viral diseases in shrimp culture with the application of probiotics? Ratnaraju has asked.
Indirectly, probiotics helps for the control, helps the control of toxic, the pathogenic bacteria, which supports the virus. We can't directly control virus, but indirectly we prevent the growth, or we prevent the contamination, or we prevent the spreading of virus by controlling the pathogenic bacteria, sir. Still today, there is no measure for the control of virus directly, sir. The only alternative methods, this is one of the best method to control virus by the application of probiotic only, sir. Chemicals, sometimes we use some certain chemicals, sir, but the chemical has its own limitation, chemical also. But probiotic, under extreme conditions and some other conditions, it will work to control the pathogenic bacteria, particularly Vibrio, which helps for the white spot virus, sir. So that's why there is no alternative. Exceptionally, probiotic is a good method. Application of probiotic is a good method for controlling the virus also.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. More than questions, we've got a lot of compliments. Many have thanked you for the clear explanation and your presentation, sir. Dear participants, we have come to the end of our day 6 of the 8-day international workshop. And now I request on behalf, I would like to tell you about tomorrow's program. Tomorrow's day 7 of our 8-day international workshop. The title, Aquaponics and Recirculatory Aquaculture System by Srijit Gurikar, CEO, Spacos Innovations Private Limited, Karnataka, at 3 p.m. Now, dear participants, we have come to the end of the day 6 of the international workshop on recent trends in technological advancements in aquaculture and fisheries, organized by the Guru Nanak Center for Research, Guru Nanak College, Autonomous VELACHERY, Chennai. I wish to wholeheartedly thank our today's resource person, Dr. PRAVEEN KUMAR, Senior Manager Technical, INTRON Life Sciences Private Limited, Andhra Pradesh, for having accepted our invitation and sparing his valuable time and enormous knowledge and experience with this presentation titled Probiotic Applications in Recent Aquaculture Practices. Sir, we really enjoyed your presentation and your informative and insightful lecture. I wish to sincerely convey my gratitude to our most revered General Secretary and Correspondent, Sardar Manjit Singh Nair, sir, our respected Principal, Dr. M.G. Raghunathan, sir, Dean Research of Guru Nanak College and Guru Nanak Center for Research, Dr. J. Jayanti Madam, for their constant support, guidance for the planning and execution of this international workshop. I'm thankful to the Vice Principal, the Deans of various schools, heads and faculty of different departments of Guru Nanak College for your support and active participation. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants from across the globe who showed keen interest and their active participation in today's workshop, which made this a grand success. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, the feedback link have been posted in the chat box. Kindly submit your feedback. Thank you very much. We shall all meet tomorrow at 3 p.m. Thank you.